another game done and yet another win. The Blue Baggers have won again, and this is what I believe is the sixth win in a row. Correction, I'm not going to make that guess because I'm pretty sure it's wrong. Regardless, we pick up the 4 points against the Swans, and it was not convincing. First half performance was amazing. Second half performance couldn't be any more the contrary. We look at big performers. Well, let's get to the major talking points really quickly. 12 goals in a first half which consisted of 80 points, leading at the main change by 38, and the second half only provided 3 goals for. So once again, you're seeing this team continue to not be able to string 4 quarters together, however, be able to come away with the 4 points at the end of it all. It was a very mature performance. Obviously, in weeks gone by or seasons gone by, we are absolutely losing this game, but the maturity shone through, and that goal by Zachy Fisher in the last quarter was ultimately the seal and had the fans in raptures, or the stands in raptures. So we look at the key performers, and ultimately, I think if you look at it from a disposal perspective, you've got Sammy Walsh, who had 34 PB of the season, and Georgie Hewitt with 32 touches against his former side. For the Swannies, 26 to Luke Parker, 24 to Heaney, and 23 to Errol Goulden. And Callum Mills also in there with 23. So, look, first half, if we go over that, I mean, really the key things were winning the ball out of the centre, which is always going to lead to success for the Carlton Footy Club. But in that forward line, obviously we know it's no secret that we are extremely small. We've got the likes of Durden, Motlop, Owies, Fisher, all roaming in that forward line. And what was really good about it is every single time there was a marking contest, we always looked outnumbered in the aerial contests, but as soon as it hit the deck, you just knew that we were going to crumb it one way or another, and it was always going to end up in a score. And in that second quarter, that's why we ended up with ultimately 9 goals. I mean, I don't know the last time we've kicked 9 goals, 3 in a quarter, but it was basically the byproduct of literally anything resulting in a score. We didn't mark the ball, it hit the deck, we scored. We took the mark, we scored. We got a free kick, we scored. And ultimately, that's how Charlie Curnow got his 5 goals. I mean, I think he had 6 touches in the quarter. He had 5 goals won, so a score from every possession that he got in the first half. And that was either because he was getting held, he was out muscling his opponent and taking marks, or he was bringing it to ground if one of those two things didn't happen, and the small forwards did the rest, whether that was Durden, whether that was Fisher. Motlop in the second quarter looked threatening as hell. I reckon he had 3 shots on goal, all from roving the ball. We looked just absolutely relentless, and those short bursts have been difference makers in a lot of our games this season. We haven't needed to play the full 4 quarters because one quarter we go absolutely ballistic. So that's great to see. If you look at it from a glass half empty perspective, it's the fact that we only conceded or scored 3 goals in the second half and led our opponents back into the game. Potentially, if we had a 4 quarter performance going, our percentage is skyrocketing. It is above 140%. It is now sitting at 114%. So that is best for the worst in the top 8. So that's not going to help us in the long term. If we are even on a team with points, and that could potentially come into play in the latter half of the season. But some good performers, should I say. Jacob Wiedering, very solid in the back line. We were under siege in the last quarter, and he took some crucial grabs. TDK in the last quarter, I reckon, took about 4 contested marks, and a couple of them were, digging a knee into the back of the opponent. So that was really good to see him get up. Also had a very, very good goal in the second quarter. He had no right kick in that. He's a 6'10 ruckman that kicks with his left foot, and he somehow threaded the needle and kicked the goal. Cripper only the 19 touches, so they quelled his influence pretty well. Lockie O'Brien, I mean, he had some really iffy moments where he didn't really commit fully to the spoil or something like that, and it cost us in the forward line, but had some really good moments. He put on some really good tackles that resulted in some free kicks. He smothered quite a few kicks, and that was the same with Durden. Durden was an absolute machine in the first half, doing absolutely everything there, scoring goals, getting assists, making shit happen, basically. Just putting his body on the line, and that resulted in scores as well. That's just the little things that he does, and he's been a really big part of our success this season. And another performer that I don't think, he'll get a lot of props is Lockie Plowman, who, cops his fair share of critics. I'm one of them. But there was one moment in the last quarter where, it could have been the difference between the Swans getting within a goal, and, us ultimately winning the game. And that's where he put his body on the line, going back with the flight, potentially someone coming the other way and, getting into his back or potentially knocking him out. That's probably the most extreme, but Mans was able to, stick out the Dukes and hold on to what was a really crucial mark and stood in front. So that could have been the difference maker. It was about 30 out from the goal. So if he doesn't get in the way, it could potentially get, it could either be a mark or it could hit, ground level. And could have been dangerous. Tom Papley kicked 3 goals too, and he was a forward line presence. He had more shots on goal from marks, not really from ground level presence. So that may be a little bit misleading, but still, you don't want to give him the opportunity to do that. And Lockie Plowman, with that big moment, was able to contribute in a big way there. First quarter performer was Matty Kennedy as well. I think he had 12 touches in about the first quarter and a bit. He had 12 touches. He ended up with 21 and a goal. So obviously dropped off like a lot of the boys in the first half. I think we had 30 more contested possessions than them in the first half. All 5 disposal leading ball getters on the ground, whatever that means, was Carlton players. Walshy, Hewitt, Cripps. I think Cripps only had 12 and he still, was one of the best on the ground, or top 5 on the ground for possession winners. So we were really stopping him there. Then the second half comes in and they attack the corridor, they win clearances, and we just never look set up. We always look like we're on the back foot. They were much more composed in traffic. They showed that in the first half when they, their kicking skills was much better. The scoring showed it in the first half in front of goal. They had 7 straight or 7-1, whatever that was. So that was really, an indicator of how well they were performing in terms of skill level. We were just crumbing the footy. It wasn't really a prettiness type thing. It was just more the fact of getting a boot to ball and gaining territory, and we're able to, just be extremely overwhelming in the forward line. But the first quarter, nothing would stick. Like, we couldn't kick the ball, we couldn't hand pass the ball, we couldn't mark the ball, had more shots on goal, but was still losing. And then the third quarter and the fourth quarters, we didn't even have a chance to butcher the ball because we couldn't get it. So, a little bit troubling there. A few flaws in terms of decision making in that second half. There was moments where there would be a pass that wasn't on offer in the midfield, in the center of the ground, and we'd try to take on that risk and it wasn't there. Turnover, go into the forward line, score for the Swans. So obviously there's a few things we need to clean up there. Obviously conceding 87 points. It's not great. It's not awful though, given we obviously helped ourselves in the first half to 80 points. So that's always going to be grouse. But at the same time, you've got to be, we can't be doing this every week. We cannot be doing this every week. It makes my heart race. It makes everyone's heart race. Beautiful turnout, 45,000 for the game. And you sort of expected something like that. It was a game that was highly anticipated, a blockbuster fixture, 2 teams in the top 5 of the league. At least that's how, the standings go. So, ripper game of football though. It was pretty end-to-end type stuff. You already anticipated it was going to be pretty close. But ultimately, it was the home side that got on top. And when you have 45 or so thousand fans getting behind you and chanting your team name and making so much noise and being really vocal, it's going to go wonders. Should I say it's going to do wonders? It's going to go a long way, in order to getting a result. There you have it. Beautiful win. We could be potentially going into the buys 9-2. We've already bypassed our win total from last season, and we haven't even made the buys yet, which is just mind-blowing. As a Carlton supporter, I didn't think I would ever say it, and it's really sad that's the reality, but we are here now and we are living it. So make sure to embrace it. Collingwood next week, it's going to be absolutely huge, given, the the form of both sides, you would back us in to win that. But strange things happen in the AFL, and the Pies will have a very feral home crowd in front of them, supporting the best 22. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we cope, given a high amount of pressure in front of a big crowd. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I do know one thing, and that's the fact that we need to play 4 quarters. There's no room for error in the AFL. And by playing 2 or 3 quarters, you really open yourself up to making those errors. So let's hope that, we can string 4 quarters together. But as far as I'm concerned, we take the 4 points and we move forward. So great win by the boys, 8-2. Absolutely pumped. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you enjoyed the game. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It is a weekly thing. You know the deal. Thank you for the support recently, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.